Hello everyone and welcome to our Select stream. Today we are going to be talking all about well-being and not just well-being at home but at work and managing our work-life balance. And we've got some very special guests joining us today from Active Digital. They're a communications company. So we're very lucky to have with us Jo. So Jo is co-owner and co-founder of the communications company Active Digital. She's worked there probably since inception with her brother, and is also a keynote speaker. She's done a lot of work in STEM and helping girls get a career within those industries. So that's all very exciting, and we're really pleased to have you with us, Jo. And we also have joining us Simon. So Simon Reynolds is a strength and conditioning coach and sports therapist. So very much the physical side of well-being. And he's actually worked previously for the Formula One McLaren team for 14 years, which is really exciting, as driver performance manager. So welcome, Simon, as well. Thanks so much for joining us. We're really excited to talk to you guys today about how technology can help people balance their work and their life, and help employers help their teams to do this better as well. And we've also got an additional well, he's not a guest. He's our regular Nick Ellis, who's our customer experience manager. So we're very pleased to have him here too. So thank you for joining us, everyone. We're really excited to talk about this today. So I'm going to firstly hand over to you, Nick, to welcome Jo and Simon to the webinar.
Thank you very much. It's just occurred to me this is the second webinar this year with a sort of tangential relationship to McLaren F1. You remember when we spoke to Eric, and we had one a few weeks ago with a chap who works for a company that does big data analysis on the fly on track side and produces all sorts of clever statistics around that. So that's, I don't think when I joined here I was expecting to talk about McLaren quite as often as I apparently am going to. So that's good. So welcome, Jo. Welcome, Simon. Thank you for giving us your time. Obviously, well-being is it's a buzzword, and it's everywhere, and possibly not everybody fully understands what we mean by it. And some companies possibly are a bit guilty of, I don't know what's the equivalent, because they say greenwashing for eco things. Is there a well-being washing that some companies do? I don't know. So I guess let's get into it. So let me start with Jo. What do you mean by well-being?
Well, thank you very much, Nick and Tess, for having us on this webinar. And well-being, I think when I think about Active Digital and as an organisation, we are a family business, as you mentioned earlier, Tess, in your introduction, and we take care of each other, and you do that when it's family. And when you think about bringing employees into your business, we try to treat them as we want to be treated ourselves, and I think it's really important. We've always done this in looking after people. So when you're thinking about well-being, not just in a crisis like we've had, but in general, as you might know from our customer base, we have a lot of sports team and high performance athletes, and we've been watching them quite closely, I would say, over the last 10 years. And we've got lots of work we've done with Saracens rugby team, which is a really great story to talk about a bit later on. But when we were looking at high performance teams, Nick, we were thinking, how do we create a high performance team? And you talk about customer experience is a major part of your role at Select.
Yep.
And what you want to do is you need to make sure that your employees are happy and in a good place in order to make sure your customers are happy and servicing their needs, because I just think it's very British to say that everybody's fine. And again, this isn't just because of the last 2 years. I think we're all a little bit guilty of everybody's fine. And the risk of burnout, I reckon probably all of us on the call at some point have pushed ourselves quite far, to the point where we have to almost pause for a minute, and we're not very good at pausing for a minute. And so when it comes to well-being, I think it's really important that we understand the method behind that, of allowing ourselves to pause and reflect on our own physical and mental health. We haven't been very good at that in the past. And what organisations need to do is buy into that, but also give them the time to pause and say, how are you? How are you doing? Is there anything we can be doing for you to support you? And I think it's just a really big conversation piece that we should be having. And the app that we've created, that I know we'll talk about today, it started with working with Saracens over 10 years ago. And their athletes were almost colour-coded like a traffic light system. Oh, how fit are you at the moment? And you're either green lighted, you're good to go, you're fit, you're well, you're ready to play, or you're amber because you have an injury that they are helping you to recover from, and that's really important. Or you're red lighted, you're not fit enough at the moment. And actually, it made us think about our own employees. And although we haven't traffic lighted our staff as such, the method is the same, isn't it? How well are your team, and how well do you know they are? And how does that affect their performance? Which is why we brought in someone like Simon, who is used to working with high performance athletes who know how to take care of themselves, but also really get to know their mental fitness as well as their physical fitness. So I think, answering your question, Nick, is we've been taking, over the last 10 years, we've been watching and we've been learning, and then looking at how we can evaluate and bring well-being into be a major part of our own business.
Okay, it's interesting. And Simon, I think we ought to bring you into the conversation as well. The very model of human fitness before us. How I'm thinking more in a sort of, if you like, a conventional workplace, because obviously Saracens Rugby Club is not a conventional workplace to most people, I think it's safe to say. Although presumably they have an admin department and they have a finance team and a marketing people and so on. But in a conventional workplace, I'm sat here at a desk. How does physical well-being? I think you know what I'm trying to say. I'm struggling to get to the end of that sentence. But how do we take that physical well-being, that mental well-being that you've taken from the sporting environment, and apply it to those of us that are not, sadly, quite in the elite athlete category?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I began my career 26 years ago, supporting sort of general public and amateur athletes, and then I slowly developed and moved into the world of Formula One, which was quite a different environment. And for the past 16 years, I've been involved in motorsports, supporting racing drivers from karting, sort of grassroots racing, all the way through to Formula One, working with some of the well-known names within the sport. In fact,
you're allowed to say who you've worked with. Do name dropping.
I've worked with. At one point there were 7 drivers on the grid 2 years ago who I'd supported at some point. I was Heikki Kovalainen's trainer, performance coach in 2008 for the Formula One season, and helped him prepare for his Hungary race win. He was teammate to Lewis Hamilton at that occasion, and I've worked alongside some well-known names from a young age who are now in Formula One. So it makes me feel really old, unfortunately. So I was working with one driver who was 14 and now he's 28. So yeah, it makes me feel very old. But in answer to your question, sort of a route around that, I've always believed that athletes are some of the best people to educate companies on high performance. They are extremely disciplined and have a high level of resilience generally, and you have to have a certain mindset to prepare yourself for a particular sporting event or activity, especially when it's in extreme environments. I mean, for example, a Formula One driver will experience anything from 40 to 50 degrees of cockpit temperature and can't regulate and thermoregulate themselves to cool their body temperature because they are inside a cockpit, they're wearing overalls and undergarments and a helmet and can't regulate like a normal athlete. So we have to sort of strategize and create effective hydration strategies, and also they have to have extremely high level of fitness to be able to cope with those hostile environments. Now, of course, an office worker isn't working in a 50-degree room, hopefully not, and they don't have to withstand such hostile environments. But the basic strategies of preparation of a human body are the same for everyone, except we all have our own individual needs as well. We have our own genetic profiles and our own what I call a performance signature. So, but I've always said to people that I've worked with that the needs of a human are very simple, but the human body is the most complex organism. And in my experience, people like to or believe that looking after yourself and being healthy is complicated. And unfortunately, with some of sort of social media and some of the things we read every now and again confuse us, and it's difficult to kind of make your way through a lot of information and really understand what is important. And just going back to athletes' mindset and their ability to perform under pressure is a really important learning platform for office workers and leaders of business to really understand what well-being is about, and being a well-being and being healthy and what it takes to do that. And I've always been fascinated with the question that how can an individual optimize their workplace performance if they don't move regularly to increase circulation and get oxygen, nutrients to working muscles and to the brain to think and concentrate? How can they optimize their performance if they don't eat well? And when I say eat well, I mean just eating natural foods. Foods which are not highly processed or refined, but just natural foods predominantly. And of course you can have treats and things you enjoy, but predominantly you're eating sort of healthy produce, and a wide variety of food, so you can attain all the nutrients that you need to thrive and to have a healthy body. How can you optimize your performance at work if you don't take regular breaks? We need to defocus in order to refocus. We can't concentrate on something for too long, otherwise we get distracted and our creativity reduces. So breaks are super important, and that's something that companies need to understand. We need to take a break to actually hydrate. We need to take a break to socialize. We need to take a break to go for a walk. We need to take a break to be in nature, because science has proven that if we're in nature and around environments, even looking at a tree in a picture can make your mind more creative. How can we perform if we don't hydrate? How can we perform if we sleep less than 7 hours a night? How can we perform if we're not in a positive and supportive working environment? So these are the questions that I've explored and researched to try and understand and help individuals.
I'd also add as well, everything that you say is just brilliant. And it makes me think that, obviously for an athlete, it's kind of almost easy to do those things. Not easy, but it's part of their daily life. They know that they need to eat well. They know they need to work out and exercise. They know they need to rest as well. They're all really important things for their career, for what they do. But actually, if you're sat in an office, you don't need to, well, you do need to do those things, but you don't need to do them to do your job. And I think a lot of people get caught in the whole, oh, I'm just going to like sit at my desk all day and, you know, I've got call after call after call. I don't have time to get up and like get a glass of water, or I don't have time to make myself something healthy for lunch. So actually, I think it's all, yeah, exactly. Lunch at your desk. So then you're not getting a break from your screen. I mean, I do it all the time. I'm awful. And I'm trying to get better. But I guess it's that what you're saying is it's taking those things that are kind of like everyday life for an athlete, and how do you put them into the workplace to make sure that, you know, people are actually performing to their best. And so that kind of leads me to the app. How did you get involved, Simon, in or where did the inspiration come from for building an app rather than just doing, you know, putting these practices in place at Active Digital? What inspired you to create the app? I guess that's more for Jo, I guess, or Simon.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was building a relationship with Active Digital, you know, early on, and especially during the pandemic. I mean, Jo touched on, you know, everyone went through a similar experience, and for me, starting a new business after being in motorsport for so long, and my business, you know, obviously continued working with racing drivers and young athletes, was also I was fascinated with well-being in the workplace, and I'd already built up a great relationship with Richard, who's Jo's sister, and Jo's brother, sorry, and it was then utilizing the app that they'd already created within sport, and using it for their own business effectively to help support and run the business. I found the app just incredible, and I said to Richard, I really believe that we can do something else with the app alongside workplace performance, and actually then it develops into making short video content to actually inspire and motivate people with simple habits, simple ideas to install good habits on a daily basis, and to help people and motivate people long term. So we have lots of incredible technologies out there which can help us perform better. For example, we have you know, heart rate monitors, and we have step counters, and various companies who develop these products, and they're brilliant. But do they have a long-term effect with people? Do people tend to use them for a short period of time to motivate themselves, and how long does that motivation last for? Well, if you can actually remind somebody, like a human post-it note every day, to do the simple things like hydrate, like keep a bottle at your desk, so you can take little sips of it on a regular basis. Remind them to take breaks. So if you're engrossed in work, or you're under pressure and you're having to perform towards a deadline, then you should be reminded to take little breaks. Remind yourself to take those breaks, to defocus, because when you come back after taking a short break for 15 minutes, I can guarantee you'll be more creative and more inspired and motivated to keep going than if you try to just, shall we say the term, slog it out, and actually not take the breaks, and then it becomes very stressful, and if you don't take the breaks and recover, if you don't optimize your recovery, how are you supposed to maximize your performance? And these are the things that I teach young drivers, is as if you don't recover effectively, and you don't, and recovery doesn't just encompass sleep, it encompasses nutrition. Nutrition is an enormous topic, which is super interesting. But how can we inspire using an app by short video content? And the answer is quite simple, is just to simply motivate people over a period of time. So every Monday we do a motivational Monday quote, and every Wednesday we produce a short video for 3 to 5 minutes on a particular subject. And the consumer of that video hopefully goes away and feels motivated and inspired for the rest of the week to then install those good habits.
Okay, great. And Jo, from what Simon's saying, how did you come to the conclusion that you wanted to create this app for your team?
Yes, I think one of the things that is really important to my brother is security, something that you guys specialize in. And when we were thinking of how could we build a community where we can talk about well-being or what we're trying to do outside of work, as in during your working day, but not talking about business in general, is just talking about what they're up to, have they been moving today, or anything that they want to share. Creating an app gave us that space, because I think that is the challenge, isn't it? How a business communicating, it's not the sort of thing you really want to do on Teams chat. It's not the sort of thing that you want to be doing on WhatsApp. It's just thinking about what platform you could use. So when we created the app, it was a brilliant way of ensuring that everybody had one place that they can go to where they'll find all of that information. And when it started, and I think this is something that Nick will agree with as well, when you're thinking about leadership or running a business, it has to, whatever you want to do with your employees and how you want to be a good role model, it has to come from the top down. So, one of the first things my brother was doing was out walking, and he might just record a voice note, wouldn't he, Simon? He'd say, "Hi guys, I hope you're having a good day. I'm just out on my walk. I'm just getting 30 minutes out and out some fresh air. Hope you guys are gonna make sure you get out today as well. And if you do, why don't you share a couple of photos on our team chat?" And that sort of leadership is really important, because I think some people just feel guilty about leaving their desk because I haven't got time to take a break. As leaders of a business, we are giving you the time. Please go and take a break. Make sure you're taking the break. And I think that role modeling is hugely important. So giving people a place where and a platform with the app where they can share, and it's been fantastic. We've had people sharing their lunchtime workouts, lots of pictures on people's walks, lots of selfies, people in different environments, and Simon, on a personal note, I know has received lots of personal messages because he's in the chat group as well. That's obviously really important. And people have contacted him privately as well to say, whether they've been struggling or how this has made a difference or what impact it's had. And that's not for me to know. That's, between an employee and Simon on how that program has massively helped them. So it does take leadership. It needs input from myself and Richard. I'm also very open in saying, I haven't had a break today, guys, what have you been doing? I must get outside. And they try and motivate me to make sure I'm doing that. But equally, the video,
it's kind of like teamwork, but, with technology. So you're not having to all be in the office together or all be in the same place. And it is like you're much more likely, surely, to do a workout if you do it with someone else. But if someone else is doing a workout at lunch, it might just be the thing that kind of, I probably should do one as well, or go out for a walk.
Can I just pick up on that, Tess? Slight mild devil's advocacy, just to keep the conversation interesting, really. I guess the question that was formulating in my mind, other than, so I assume, Simon, that my regular routine of a McDonald's breakfast, a bag of Haribo for lunch and a Domino's for tea is not really meeting the standard that you would expect. But it's so convenient, though. I guess my question is that the balance of support and care versus intrusive and nosy, so there comes a point where you go, do you know what, you're my employer, you're not my mum, and where is that line? And I don't mean that to sound overly cynical, but it is a thing you have to be careful of. You can't just sort of demand everything. So how do you manage that balance, do you think?
Is this for me? A question for me?
Whoever wants it, I shall cast it into the wind, and whoever catches it.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the app itself for other companies, because obviously Active Digital is the company that we have trialed the app with, but it's important to differentiate between what we've just been talking about in our company and how we would support other companies. And it's as simple as creating digital content which people can access, and hopefully it motivates them, and obviously they can ask questions when we do our sort of monthly seminars over a chat, for example. So the way the actual program works is that on a Monday you have a motivational quote, on a Wednesday or Thursday you have a short motivational video, and once a month we have a sort of group-wide seminar, a sort of call, a video conference call, where people listen to a presentation on a particular wellbeing subject, and they can ask questions within the chat. So there wouldn't be any direct questions to me as such, but there will be the presenter, whether it be myself or one of the other experts, they'll be able to ask questions about that particular topic. Does that answer the question in terms of the actual app itself, or the experience of Active Digital?
Well, I to a degree, I guess. I think I was thinking about things like you know, the mood monitoring and that kind of thing. You know, there are times when I'm being deliberate. I'm deliberately taking a slightly oppositional view here because it makes the conversation more, you know, brings things out. I'm not necessarily arguing this position, but I can see there are times where I'm not in a great mood and I don't necessarily want my employer to know about that. Thank you very much. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's just how do we balance the right to privacy with the need for support? That's what I'm really going for.
Absolutely, and this is not part of the program. So the program is simply just video content. So there's no
push out.
There's no interaction or monitoring of an individual. It's simply just a motivational provider, a motivational experience. There's no interaction between the user and the content or anything like that. So we may ask for a survey, a sort of a company survey where people can ask some questions, but on an individual basis, that's not how the actual program works.
Okay. There's an interesting parallel with Microsoft. Tess, help! I've completely forgotten the product name.
Viva.
Thank you. It's not like I'm employed to be a Microsoft Office specialist or anything like that. Yeah, Microsoft Viva. That you know, because that does get into a bit of that kind of stuff, and they use the data about how people are spending their day, and some of that is anonymized and aggregated so that the directors of a company can go, oh, it seems that on average my sales team are working 60-hour weeks. That's probably not great. I ought to, you know. But also some of it is a bit more direct, like it will flag up to managers, that person keeps sending meetings or keeps sending emails rather at 10 o'clock at night, and maybe we need to just persuade them to, you know. And I can see the intent and I can see the benefit, and I think there are cases where that is great, but I do have a slight worry about, you know, but your offering doesn't do any of that, so that's that's good.
Going back to what Jo was saying as well, it's kind of almost, it sounds like the app that you guys have created, it almost is up to the company or the leaders to set the precedent for what's expected. So you can almost slot it into the culture that you have, because there's going to be some business leaders, unfortunately, that don't really mind if their sales team works 60-hour weeks or you know, encourage that. And I guess this app and what we're talking about today is probably more targeted at people that do care, and so hopefully it wouldn't be sort of, like you say, almost used for bad rather than for good, because I guess what you're getting at, Nick, is like almost checking up on people.
Yeah, but I mean, sorry, Jo, go on.
Can I dive in? Yeah, what I was going to say was there's almost two elements to the app, really. So you've got one part which is, you know, giving as much information as possible, but also encouraging a community. If they want to share, they can share. They can upload pictures. I mean, you've got people that want to upload what they've done on their Peloton today because they're so damn proud of themselves. And I just replied to Ben saying, I'm not buying one. But we have, you know, good banter between us, or someone's done a really good walk, or someone's actually just recovering from an injury. They've done something really small, but it's really big for them. And sharing all of that is brilliant, as well as having an expert who's talking about nutrition. You know, and Simon just saying exercise or movement. It can be a walk. We're not asking you to to go for a 5K run if that's not what you want to do, but we want you to encourage you to move your bodies and to come away from your desk at different periods throughout the day. But on from that, one of the things that we have done, as I say, this has been quite a number of years really, is monitoring and asking our employees to be honest with us about certain things where they fill out a wellbeing survey, and they do that every week, and they still do this now, Nick. So when we were thinking about what we're doing at Active Digital, over and above what we're doing with Simon, is we do ask a couple of really simple questions, which we ask through the app every week. And we ask them, and it's sort of asking them to answer between 1 and 10. And some of those questions can be on how well they've been sleeping, how productive they feel that they're being. That might be, and also their sort of their work rate. And they are quite simple questions, but we're asking employees to give us a score. And it's really important here that there's no judgment. So if somebody's having a really bad week of no sleep, they might even have a young child, it could just be stress, it could be worry, whatever it might be. If they're giving us results and they're coming in at quite low scores, when you talk about the clever bit, the analytics behind all of that, Nick, if somebody's flagging 5 or less, so their score is quite low, over a period of time, what it will do is flag an alert to their line manager, not necessarily to Richard and I, but to their immediate manager, to say, you might want to check in with this person just to make sure that everything's okay. And that might be a walk and talk meeting. Everything all right? Everything okay? And it's fascinating, isn't it, that you have then an opportunity to hopefully have an open conversation about whether that person wants to talk, anything that they want to talk about. Sometimes what I think we've found over the past is because, we're not always very good at expressing our feelings or talking about things that are going on for us, and people saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then they hit burnout. And then all of a sudden, Richard and I will be told from another manager that person has just been signed off for 2 weeks by their doctor for stress or for burnout. And then we'll be thinking, should we have known about that? And could we have done something about that? So the idea with the app is to ask people to be really honest, and there is no judgment, and they can just put in how their wellbeing scores are going. And it's great to see who's in a really good place, or who actually might need a bit of support at the moment, or they've just got so much workload on. That is our job to say, Tam's got a bit of time at the moment, maybe he could help you. And he'd be like, that your shoulders come down, they're like, that's great. If you need some help with a project and you need to get that finished, why don't we give you the resource to help you? So we're trying to use that information to hopefully, make sure our employees get the support that they need. And then in return, we get a higher employee retention rate, and people want to stay and they want to work with us, which our customers are happy about because they want consistency in who their account manager is or who's looking after them. So it's a win-win. And actually, this is such a good question, Nick, about, do people want to open up? But Richard almost said you almost need 100% buy-in in many cases, because it's really difficult if you then get most of the staff answering the questions, but then you get a couple that don't want to do it. I mean, of course, if they really don't want to do it, I suppose Simon, I and the team have to respect that decision, but it's there for them, and it's to make sure that they feel that they can just answer as openly as possible without judgment. I'm sure Viva doesn't do that.
Well, no, I mean, and all of these tools, and this is kind of, I mentioned at the top about, well-being washing. There are certainly, I mean, I'm a software specialist. That's what I think about. And certainly in my career, I've seen so many cases of people say, I'm going to buy this software, which is going to solve my problem. No, it's not. No. What you're going to change your culture, which will solve your problem, and then you buy some software that will help you with the new culture, and that is, I sometimes fear that, and oddly, as a technology evangelist, which I certainly am, but if I look up here, I can see a book from here called "The Internet Is Not the Answer," which we, as a culture, we believe in the power of technology, and then we produce more technology to solve the problems that the first round of technology, so it is absolutely on its own. I think it can be very challenging. With the right management culture and with the right, it becomes a tool for empowerment, definitely. I think it's very interesting you say about the word fine and the English. I've always thought fine is a word that a bit like Chinese, where the same word can mean very different things based on the inflection. Fine is the one case of that in the English language, because fine and fine, these are very, very different words, even though they're spelt the same. Yeah, and the crashing into burnout, which is something that we've all, through lockdown particularly, the people. It's like there's nowhere else to go, and I'm reasonably fortunate to have a dedicated room to be my office that I can get to about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Go right, I'm going to go out, shut the door. If you were one of those people who, and there were many of them, who were working in your living room, it's really hard to tell the difference. And even Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, he put a tweet out that said, "Do I work from home or do I live at work?" And I thought, well, I assume you've got a reasonably well provisioned house. If you're struggling with that difference.
No, you're absolutely right. And we had staff working in bedrooms at kitchen tables, and that was all over the country, wasn't it? But when we think about
I was just going to say we had a young chap who's no longer with us, but I mean, he's no longer with Select, just to be clear. I believe he's still alive. And he was in a small room. Do you remember, Tessa? He was in a small room and was literally perched on the end of his bed doing his work. And then he'd go down and get dinner, and then he'd come back upstairs and play his Xbox all evening, and then he'd go to bed. Repeat for a year, which is the sort of case that I imagine, Simon, you would sort of look at with horror and go, no, absolutely don't live like that. And we were all looking at it with horror and going, no, absolutely don't live like that. So
I think when you look at the figures, we had to do something. I mean, these figures are actually quite old. And I think I shared some newer figures with Simon earlier today that I was just doing a bit of research ahead of the call. But, 72 million work days are lost every year, and 92 billion was lost off the UK economy due to ill health. What small change can your business do today to try and minimise that impact of someone burning out or suffering and not feeling like they can talk about it? And when we were hearing from even larger organisations were saying, "Oh, it's fine. Fine again, Nick. We've allowed all of our employees to have the Calm app, on their phone." That's not enough. It's not enough. And we're so fortunate to have someone like Simon, who's got so much experience, to be able to spend time with our people, because Richard and I don't know how all of that physical and mental wellness should look like. We can do our best, but all we can do is be role models for those people. And the app is a great tool. And I think because there wasn't really anything out there that does those things that we want to do, and I think it's been really enhanced with all these great short videos, bite-sized videos that people can look at, whether it's an exercises in your chair exercises at your desk, and then brilliant little lunches and nutrition, and it's been great. But the 3 to 5 minute thing is, I think, a real winner, where people can digest information really quickly. So we're really excited about Get Active Digital, and because we've been the guinea pigs for a couple of years, like Simon said, we are ready now to take it to market. And I think there are some exciting conversations to be had with businesses. Doesn't even just have to be in the UK, they can be all over the world, really, who can benefit from all of that expertise. And I think we're in a great place with our staff, and we want to keep growing it. And it's been great to see how they share on our little community all the things that they've been up to, and they're small wins which mean a lot to them throughout the day or through the week.
So I mean, it sounds amazing, and I guess as the clock starts to sweep up towards the top of the hour, somebody listening to this who says, that's absolutely amazing, I want that, how do they go about getting that? Let's go into full advertorial mode. So somebody wants some of that. Who do they talk to? How do they get hold of you?
And do they get Simon as well?
And do they get Simon to come around and make them a salad? That's the question.
Well, I think one thing that I can guarantee is anybody that's interested will set up a Microsoft Teams demo, or we'll come do it face to face. So we'd love to demo the app to them. And ultimately, they just pay per license. They pay an annual fee for a license, depending on how many employees they've got. I'm sure we can look at some pricing for them. That's something that I think we've just obviously finalised internally. But first call would be ask for a demo. That's no obligation. Simon's so passionate about it that he'll always be very happy to do that. And on from that, if you like it, go ahead and just pay per license, depending on how many people you have in your organisation. Easy peasy.
That it does sound brilliant. Like, it sounds great to me. I'd love something like that. I'll have to speak to Nick Potter about that.
Yeah. Don't ask the bosses. Yeah. Before we start to wrap up, did you want to throw anything else in, Simon?
So it's not just myself. We have a top sports nutritionist who works with Olympic athletes and athletes at a sort of elite level, and also we have another performance coach and mindset coach, and various other experts who pop in every now and again to sort of give their feedback on well-being and their experiences. Jo and I also did some podcasts with some sort of celebrities and leaders of well-known businesses to get their opinion on well-being, and that's part of the app as well. So it's really, we've got some exciting content that we're delivering over the rest of this year, and each month is themed. So this month is Mindset May, last month was Active April, and we give little sort of tasks for people to look to achieve it. And it's really simple stuff. Walking is a massive part of the program. I believe some people have this concept or belief or perception of what fitness and exercise is, and with the sort of social media posts and information that's out there, sometimes they get a little bit fearful of what that looks like. But going for a walk every day for say 20 minutes has incredible health benefits. And in fact, most of the health benefits that we experience with our body are at lower intensities. And when we layer up and build up to the point where we want to take the intensity and volume of exercise further, that's fine, and that's great. But just moving and doing general activities, which are very, very simple, will actually reap great health benefits over a long period of time. In fact, I created this daily goals. So every time somebody wakes up in the morning, they think, how can I be better today to be better tomorrow? And I set 3 goals. So every time you wake up in the morning, and I've done this since I was 13 years old, and I won't bore you with the whole journey of that. But when I was 13, I went through some personal things, and one of the things that I learned was to set yourself a kind of goal every day. And I then turned that into 3 different goals. So 1 personal goal, 1 health goal, and 1 work goal. So the work goal at that time was school. So by the end of today, I will have achieved this. And it might be something simple like I need to read a passage of a book, just 1 page of a book. And then the health goal was that I'm going to take my bottle of water and keep it next to me when I'm working, or at that time when I was at school, and just take sips of it. So then I feel much better from the hydration of water and things like that. And then I would then have a health goal. Sorry, that's the health goal. So then I have a personal goal, and I have 3 children, young children, and my personal goal every day is that I'm going to read them a book before they go to bed, or I'm going to do bath time tonight, or I'm going to do something. It's just very, very simple things. But if you have just 1 simple thing in those 3 areas, over a year you can achieve almost 1,000 goals. And imagine the impact and how that can transform your life by achieving all of these different goals. And a lot of people are very outcome focused. The result is scary. But if we're process focused, over time we can achieve incredible things that we never thought we could by just setting really simple little steps every single day, which can mount up over time. And it's not scary, and it's actually really achievable. and it doesn't have to be complicated. And that's the lessons that I like to teach people, that the things that we think are complicated, especially when it comes to well-being and health, are not. And the human body, yes, is the most complicated organism, but its needs are very simple. And I'm at university at the moment studying again, and I'm learning the in-depth, the sort of intricacies of the body, and it's super fascinating. It's super complicated, but the needs of it are simple.
I think
Amazing.
but by coincidence, I'm going to give an example of that things are simple, and this isn't just me, craving approval, although there's always a bit of that with me. But the purely coincidentally, this wasn't because this webinar is happening, but I am currently on day 4 meat free, which is probably something that even 3 months ago, if you'd said that, what? No, it's so ridiculous. As I mentioned to you, Joe, just before we joined, just finishing off a corn chili, and I was jokingly sat with a apple on my desk. So I've got 3 apples that I sit on my desk because I know what I'm like, and Tess and Duke can testify to the fact that I will hit a chocolate bar or a bag of Haribo just out of habit. But I'm also, and I think this is kind of what you were saying about the water bottle, I'm also quite lazy. So if I've got an apple here or a bag of Haribo in a shop down the road, fine, I'll have the apple because it's there. And just those little steps to try and, it's not as complicated as people make it out to be, is what I'm saying. It just is literally think a little bit more rather than assuming you're going to have a McDonald's and have an apple on your desk rather than go and buy a bag of sweets. And
yeah, absolutely. And
already, I have to say, 4 days in already, I feel a bit better. So
It's brilliant.
One of the things that's really important, though, is that we understand that everyone is an individual, and everyone has different individual needs, and we can create the perfect picture, but there's no such thing as perfect, and we need to understand that everyone is having a different life experience at different times. But if we can give them and inspire them, hopefully, with just trying to create some little simple habits, then hopefully that will complement their life experiences. And the video content is science-based, so we do research into the latest. I mean, science is really. I'm doing a science degree, and it's really important. Science is very important to me. We need to make sure it comes from good sources, but also not just science, but taking a holistic approach. So we have a performance model, which is made up of nutrition, mindset, movement, and recovery. And then we need the commitment of the individual to be driven to perform, and then we hopefully motivate them and call that inspire to perform. And then we have the individual experts within nutrition, within mindsets, and within movement, and that all then links into recovery as well. So all of those experts link into recovery, and then hopefully we can then help optimize an individual's performance within the workplace, even if it's just optimizing by 5%. That 5% over time, as they start to install those good habits, will increase. And hopefully, as we've already alluded to earlier in the conversation, is that if leaders of business, managers, can inspire their teams by following these good habits, then that motivation trickles down. So the whole team together, we can achieve more. I know people have heard that one before, but it's so true that as a team, we can help each other and motivate each other and guide each other and leave little post-it notes on computers and things like that to help people understand the importance of well-being and just being generally as healthy as you can. And you can still have treats, and you can still do the things that you enjoy, and that's never taken away from you. But generally, if you just understand the basic concepts of it, and you can be educated into what that means, then hopefully you can be much happier and go away and go, wow, that's actually not too complicated. So I can do that. It's realistic. I can achieve those things, and hopefully, hopefully somebody like myself can come along and motivate somebody to just make simple little steps and changes to transform their life over time.
That's great. Thank you, Simon. I feel really motivated now. I feel like now I want to try all these like little things and like the little steps. I think that's a great way to look at it, is kind of like breaking it down into small goals. I'm a mum of 2 boys who are like, one of them's 2, the other one's about to turn 4. So, you know, you don't have a lot of time for yourself, and it's kind of, but if you can just activate a couple of small goals, you still feel like you're sort of achieving something and working towards something. So so yeah, no, I think that's a great place to end it, because we're now coming to the end of the time that we've got. But I think it's been a great, insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Jo, and thank you so much, Simon, for joining us and giving us your time. Thank you for everyone watching, and thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Go out for a walk.